Let's Sleep Together by Flapjack09, read by Distracted by Books. Chapter 7, The Breakup.
Wake up, wake up, wake up.
The blaring alarm clock did little to faze Izuku, who already felt awake enough just by looking at Mei's wide-eyed, excited smile, which was the first thing to greet him the moment he opened his eyes. This was not by accident, as they had started out trying a more face-to-face method of cuddling the prior night. Already he could see the upsides of this position. "Hi," Mei said, her voice shockingly soft and tender, given what he was used to. "Good morning." He returned the greeting in a similar manner, the gentle tone coming naturally to him. "I hope you slept well last night." Yep! The moment was lost on her, and she merrily skipped out of bed like it was any other morning. It's too early to tell, but I think it might have been the best one yet. Izuku could definitely see where she was coming from. He rotated his arm in its socket, not feeling so much as a crack. He really had no idea how it worked, but he was over questioning it by now. "I'd better get going if I want to make it to class on time. See you again later tonight, Mei." Izuku sent her a wave as he walked out of her room, limber and energetic as ever. The same was true for Mei, who wore a wide, satisfied smile as she returned the gesture. "I hope you're ready for then. We've still got tons of different positions to try out," she meant in the most PG way possible, hardly able to contain her excitement. It was funny in a way. Never in her life had she been this focused on anything except her babies. People always told her she had a one-track mind, but now that track had split off into two, and her list of personal interests had now doubled. And this wasn't just the case for her. Ever since word had gotten out about her and Izuku's arrangement, the rest of her class had gone off to try and replicate her success. Not everyone was able to find a hero course student to sleep with, but the ones who did showed a clear improvement in their work, in the same vein as Mei. To prove her point, the door next to Mei's opened up and a pair of hero course students walked out, their lack of shirts apparent as the sweat trailing down their chiseled abs and finely toned backs shimmered in the morning light. Mei usually didn't pay much attention to those details, but even she had trouble looking away. "That was awesome, bro! You were amazing!" Kirishima complimented his silver-haired look-alike. "Nah, man, you were even more amazing!" Tetsu returned the compliment with equal vigor. "You were both amazing." Mina stepped out of her room, wearing a shirt that looked a few sizes too big on her. "I'll see you both after school today?" "Totally!" They both responded at once, shooting her an identical pair of thumbs up. "Damn!" Mei gave an impressed whistle, her eyes continuing to follow the two boys as they made their way down the stairs. "You got a 2-for-1 deal? That must open up a whole smorgasbord of possibilities." Idly, she wondered how Izuku would feel about bringing in a third person to their studies. "Yeah." Mei failed to notice the other girl's blush. "Never thought I'd end up with 2 boyfriends. Honestly, I still can't believe it's real." "Wait, what?" Her gaze snapped over to Mina, confusion quickly overtaking her features. "Yeah, they're my boyfriends. We're going to try a gym date after school today. I'm not very familiar with the gym, so I hope they go easy on—" No, back up a sec," she interrupted, holding her arms out to Mina. "What do you mean, boyfriend?" Mei was never one to keep up with her classmates' social lives, but this felt like a huge leap from the Mina she was vaguely familiar with. "It's exactly what it sounds like, Hatsume. I asked Tetsu if we could do the cuddling thing. He asked if Eijiro could join, and after a few nights it just sort of happened." She gave her a lazy shrug. "I guess it's just the natural next step, given the physical and emotional closeness, like with you and Midoriya." Mei narrowed her eyes at her. What about me and Izuku? See? That's what I mean. You're already on a first name basis. If that's not a sign that you two are growing closer together, I don't know what is. I May didn't know what to say as the realization hit her like a punch to the face. May considered herself unshakable under most circumstances, able to brush off explosions and disregard potential safety hazards like it was nothing. But this was something completely different. May was treading in uncharted territories and she had already gotten herself lost. I didn't think there'd be any emotional components to this experiment. That's not what I signed up for. This was supposed to be purely for scientific purposes. Mina sighed, more than aware of May's hang-ups regarding anything not based in cold, hard facts and logic. Well, not everyone might feel the same way, especially not Midoriya. May's eyes shot open at the mention of his name and her pupils constricted to the size of pinpricks. Oh, Kami, does he think I've been sending him signals this whole time? Her hands desperately clutched the sides of her head, trying to fend off an oncoming migraine. Of course he did. He called me by my first name, and I called him by his first name. Why did I even do that? Ah! She groaned loud enough for the entire dormitory to hear. This is why I don't do any of this people stuff. They're too complicated. Hey, it's not the end of the world. Mina tried to calm May with a hand on her shoulder. You just need to set things straight with him. I'm sure he'll understand. May took a breath, taking Mina's words into consideration. As the one who initiated this experiment, she was fully at fault for not explaining the terms better. And now she'd probably gone and given him the wrong idea. The very idea of stringing him along like that made her sick to her stomach. Izuku didn't deserve that, and he didn't deserve to be caught up in this whole experiment, especially under false pretenses. You're right. It's not too late to fix this. She already felt bad enough for leading on her number one client like this. The last thing she wanted to do was lead him on any longer. She owed him that much after everything she put him through. Izuku froze before he could knock on the door to the support lab, feeling an odd sense of deja vu. Whenever I try to open this door, there's always an explosion, and May ends up right on top of me. Of course, by now he was no stranger to May being on top of him. In fact, it actually grew to the point where he looked forward to it. Does that make me a pervert like Mineta? No, of course not. I have one thing he doesn't have: consent. With a decision in mind, he reached for the door as normal, only for an explosion to blast it off its hinges. As normal. Hi, May. Glad I was able to break your fall, he said to the girl on top of him. His smile didn't last long, however, when he noticed the clear discomfort on her face. Are you okay? Yeah, sure. She quickly stood back up, looking uncharacteristically nervous with herself. Listen, 10 million, about our experiment. Izuku was a bit taken aback by the use of his nickname. Not that he hated it, he just thought they'd be on a first-name basis from now on. What about it? Do you have something new you want to try out? You don't need to come over anymore. Izuku froze at the words, his face dropping even more at May, his mere presence seeming to cause discomfort. But he could hardly focus on that with the huge bombshell that had just been dropped on him. You what? I said, you don't need to come over anymore, she repeated. Izuku felt his heart drop at the forcefulness in her tone. I don't get what you're saying. What's with the sudden shift? Did I do something wrong? No, of course not. She trailed off, unable to find the words. Look, you don't have to worry about me. I already got a replacement for you. She pulled out a green, human-shaped pillow whose proportions looked eerily similar to Izuku's. So you can just go off and do whatever. You don't have to stick around anymore. Izuku didn't know what to think of this. None of it made any sense, and it was all happening so fast. But through it all, he could tell something was up with May, who was far from her cheerful, energetic self. Wait, hold on. He reached out to her, but she had already turned and run back into the lab, the backup door slamming behind her. May? May? He banged his fist on the door to try and get her attention, but to no avail. What the heck just happened? End of chapter.